Hello, students. So with map and filter, we've sort of taken those things outside the comprehension. And I just wanted to remind you that even if you have a list that's maybe given to you or you've grabbed it, it has nothing to do with the comprehension. We can still use map and filter in these cases. So like, let's say I have a list. I don't know. I'll just mash some keys here and get a list here. And let's say I want to double the list. Well, we can make a little function double that returns 2 times n, and then I can use map on it. I give it the function, I give it the list, and boom, what I get is not a list because it's ready to make the list. But one thing I could do is, if I wanted to, is I could say, okay, I need you to give me the list right now. I need those outputs. So I've now doubled these, and you can see they're all doubled. Let's make another list of tuples. Let's go with 9, 0, 1, 9, I don't know, 8, 2, 7, 3. Let's do 3, 7, and I'll toss in a 4, 6, and a 5, 5. Okay, so we have m. And one thing we might want to do is maybe get the sums of those tuples. So one more time, if I want the sums as a list, what I can do is I can just say, okay, I can say, give me a list. Let's use the built-in sum function in m, and boom, I get those sums nicely. Okay. We've had to make lots of tiny little functions like this doubler, right? If I wanted maybe just the first values from m, I could make another tiny function, first of t for tuple, that returns t0. And I can do the same thing that I did here. Let's do this with m except with first. So we might get tired of making all these little one-use functions, and we might not need that function to do anything else in our program. So there's a way in Python to make sort of a disposable function. It's something that you're just going to use a single time without having to, go through this process of defining it. I could actually define my function in the line where I'm using my map, or anything else, anywhere else I need a function. So how does this work? So this works with something like lambda. It's something called lambda. And you can already see that keyword's being recognized by Jupyter. Okay, so how does this work? So what I do is I create lambda x, and I say what x has to be. And this is a function, and it tells me it's a function. I could even use type on it, and hey, look, Python will say, you've got a function there. Okay, but what good is this function? Well, let's try to stick something in it. So let's try to give it, I don't know, 4. And what it's going to do is it's going to double. So let's say I want to go back and do some of these things that I've done before. Let's say I've gotten my L, but I don't feel like writing a separate function, but I need to double everything in L. So what I could do is I could say, okay, if I want it to be a list, I'm going to ask ahead of time for a list. And I want to map those elements in L. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a lambda. Lambda. I have to give it the name of my variable, which is going to be x. And then I'm going to say, hey, what it returns, 2 times x. And that's my function, and then I give it L. And you'll notice that it did the same exact thing that it did up here, down here. For the other example we did, where we return the first element of these tuples, let's refresh our memory as to what m is. I want to return the first element of these tuples. So what I could do is I could say, okay, if I want it in list form, I could do that. I could say, give me a map, lambda x, and just give me x naught. And then I give it m, and boom, I have that. So this has many uses. It's quite often used and encountered with the sorted function. So let's just get some help on what that is, because we haven't introduced it before. So this is going to be sorting things for us. We have to give it an iterable. We have some optional things that we can do here. Let's just try sorted. So here's L, and what is sorted L? and it looks like it sorted them in order. Let's write what m is, and let's try sorting m. And it's given them in order, but what order? Is it going by the first value or the second value? Well, it naturally goes to lexicographic order. What does that mean? Dictionary order. It looks at the first character first and the second character second, and so on. But suppose I wanted to sort by, say, the second character. Well, what I could do is I could give it a key. And the key is a function that I tell it to sort by. So let me try sorting m. But now I give it a key. So I write key equals, and what do? Well, I have to give it a function. I don't want to define a separate function, so let me just use lambda x, and x is going to go to x1. So now when it gets all those tuples, it's going to be using x1 to do the sorting. And you see it does that nicely there. If I wanted to sort by sum, I actually wouldn't need to use lambda there. I could just say, hey, sort by sum. The key is the sum. And many of these have the same sum, but 9, 0 has a sum of 9. This is 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and 10. So then it sort of had to make a decision there as to what to do with the rest of them when it tied. But we definitely got this first. What if I wanted the key to be the product? Let's try that. So let's try the product. So what I'd want is instead of for each tuple, I don't want it to sort normally by the first and the second. I want it to sort by the product, so that would be x naught times x1. So this will give me the product of each of these tuples, and you'll see this has 0, 9, 16, 21, and 21. Well, it had to choose some order. It just sort of kept things. And then 24, and then 25. So lambda, you can use it whenever you're making a one-use function, a function that you're not gonna use a lot. It's used for small functions. So I wouldn't want to put a complicated function here because I have to express what the output is right away. When I write lambda, I give it my variable, and then I say immediately what that output is. We can also use lambda with more than one variable. So what does this do? Well, it creates a function. Okay, let's try to use the function. Now here I'm going to have to give it two numbers, otherwise it's not going to work. And you see, I mean, this is a silly function for me to make, but if I wanted a lambda that that took in more than one variable, I could do that as well. Just give it my variables and immediately give it the output on the other side of the colon.